Charles Daniel Smith, born July 16, 1965. When Charles Smith was being evaluated by teams for the NBA draft, he was described as a complete big man with the versatility to play power forward and center, and had guard-like traits that rose expectations for him to expand his game and be effective in other positions as well. In his prime, there was nothing like him. He'd sprint down the floor on fast breaks at Pittsburg for slams that wowed everyone, including his coaches, surprised he could beat even the guards up the floor, and in one quick leap, he was in the mouth of the rim. He didn't struggle to shoot the ball from the field or free throw line like typical bigs of the time. Instead, had a guard-like form that hit the net smooth and opened up his game to being even more of a unicorn, potentially. I say that because Charles Smith was one of those unicorns that didn't amount to what his potential suggested, even though I wouldn't necessarily call him an NBA bust. In '93, I'm sure a lot of Knicks fans may have felt that way in the moment, after a Game 5 loss to the almighty '90s Bulls took away one of their best chances to win a championship and demoralized them so bad, the following game they lost as well and were eliminated from the playoffs. The Knicks were up 2-0 in the series with a chance to take a strong 3-2 lead going back to Chicago when Ewing drove to the basket and dished it off to Smith for an easy layup or dunk that would have given the Knicks a 1-point lead with less than 20 seconds to go. He was denied 4 times in 5 seconds, either blocked or stripped of the ball, until it wound up in Jordan's hands for an assist to B.J. Armstrong at the buzzer. The Bulls won by 3, closed out New York, and went on to win their 3rd straight dynasty-setting title. Many Knicks fans blame that game and series loss on Charles Smith. Doc Rivers, who was on the team at the time, describing the state of the Knicks organization after that fateful game as like a family member suddenly passing away. Charles Smith's NBA career also passed away abruptly, playing just 4 more seasons before he was out the league for good at 31. He was selected 3rd overall in the 1988 draft in front of All-Stars, All-NBA team performers, and even a Hall of Famer. He was a McDonald's All-American, Parade All-American, Conference Player of the Year in 1988, and left as Pitt's all-time leading scorer. With those and his unique versatility, Charles Smith was set to have the same success in the league. And for these reasons, that didn't happen. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Charles Smith was a 6'10" power forward from Bridgeport, Connecticut that starred for Warren Harding High School, where he left as one of the best players in the country. He committed to Pittsburgh for a chance to help turn the program around and also to be an important player in college basketball immediately. He did just that, averaging 15 and 8 as a freshman, and improved his outputs every year over the next 4 years. He'd helped the Panthers to the tournament his junior and senior years and finished as the school's all-time leading scorer with 2,045 points. He was selected to the USA national team for that year's Olympics, in which they won the bronze medal, and noted as the last team to compete on that level for the US that didn't include NBA players. He was drafted by the Sixers, then immediately traded to the LA Clippers, where he began his career with the 1st overall pick Danny Manning and an all-rookie first-team performance. Charles was actually improving nicely over his first 2 seasons, then it all went downhill from there. Stunt number 1, Clippers fixing what wasn't broken. Charles Smith didn't shock anyone when he came in and averaged over 16 points and 6 rebounds in 30 minutes a game as a rookie, or a career-high 21 points per game and 6.7 rebounds per game in 35 minutes as a sophomore, nearly all-star numbers and second on the team in scoring. His teammate and former draft mate Danny Manning, who went 1st overall, dealt with trouble staying in the lineup early in his career, so presented Smith with the opportunity to be a focal point on the team on offense, and he capitalized on that and produced maybe more than expected. With that, the Clippers, who were lucky to have 2 of the top 3 picks in the '88 draft, failed to understand the importance of what they had, and obviously wanted Manning, who was their first choice, to flourish in the offense, as the thought was, since Smith was already looking to continue on improving, let's focus on Danny's opportunity, and even though understood, they went about it the wrong way. Manning and Smith both played the power forward position, which was a blundered pick in the first place, drafting basically Danny Manning twice in that draft instead of another position that could also improve the team. It created a point where the coaching staff had to make a decision. Move Smith, the second leading scorer, borderline all-star if the team could begin winning, and third selection to a different position, or continue to have Smith's opportunity sit in the way of your number 1 overall pick developing like hoped. They decided in favor of Manning, and Charles Smith began the 90-91 season as the team's small forward. A 6'10" small forward was unheard of at the time and had its positives and negatives. It presented an advantage for the team having a bigger guy in a small spot, and it gave Danny Manning more room to develop. Smith declined in 90-91 even though he led the team in scoring, but the position wasn't natural for him and broke his rhythm not playing in the position he knew since a child. Also, instead of an advantage, it hurt the Clippers having Smith, a 6'10" guy guarding wing players and even guards, expending energy he didn't have to improve on offense. That move set the table for the rest of his career. Stunt number 2, knee injuries. Hearing stories from days of the past, you clearly see in hindsight all the mistakes made in basketball in general, but some are corrected to better suit the players or move the game forward. The move to have Smith play full-time at small forward was one of those mistakes a team thought would end up an advantage, but backfired and hindered the career of a guy that was already clearly on his way. To average over 21 points per game in just year 2 as a top 3 pick, nothing should have changed, and Charles Smith may have had a successful NBA career for much longer. Playing the small forward, having to consistently move at the pace of one on offense and defend some of the toughest players in the NBA, which in the 90s were wings and post players, accelerated the deterioration of his knees. With a dip in output just a year after the move, you could see that the plan may not work, yet the team continued down that path until Charles Smith would begin dealing with knee pain from an exhausted body trying to keep up with faster players, all more agile, shifty, and have been playing the position their entire lives. In just a year, Smith went from playing 70-plus games a year the first 3 seasons to year 4 on and off the injured players list, resulting in just 49 games 91-92 and completely out of the starting lineup. Danny Manning had his best season thus far, playing heavy minutes, and went on to become an all-star in 92-93 and 93-94 at power forward. Charles Smith, however, was traded the very next season for Mark Jackson, as the Clippers seemed to have made their choice on big man of the future. Too bad they trade Manning as well in 94. The Knicks too used Smith as a small forward, further confusing me that any team couldn't see his advantage against power forwards and playing him where he was most successful in the NBA. With the Knicks, he continued to decline, now averaging around 12 to 13 points per game, far from borderline anything any longer. Stunt number 3, the Knicks. Simply the Knicks for all he was and wasn't for the team. As mentioned, the Knicks were also misusing Charles Smith at small forward, and he never cracked at least 30 minutes per game during his time with the team. They already had their featured players in Patrick Ewing and John Starks, and also gave Charles Oakley more minutes in 93-94 after he and Smith were sharing that time since Smith got to the Knicks. More minutes for Oakley could have also been a decision made by the team because of the previous season ending in legendary disappointment, losing to the Bulls the way they did, with Charles missing 4 shots at the end of the game that could have sent the Knicks to the NBA Finals, being able to control the series against the Bulls. Many in New York soured on Charles Smith, and obviously so did the team, who held on to Smith a few more years, but traded him to the Spurs in 95-96, where he was a shell of himself, averaging less than 10 points per game the next 2 seasons, which would be his last in the league. Post-retirement, he became an important part of creating financial assistance for retired players as a representative in the Players Association. He also dipped his hands in tech and holds a patent to this day for applications developed by his company. All in all, Charles Smith had a solid NBA career and made good of the life and talent he had, but I can't help but wonder what could have been if he wasn't a part of the Clippers or Knicks, who in both places his career was altered forever. Some Knick fans still blame him to this day for the '93 conference finals and hold him as one of the more hated Knicks of all time. Salute, much respect, it's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.